As the sunlight fades into autumn gloom, the rustling of leaves in the cool, dim air gives proof of the coming season. Overhead, the insidious cackle of witches flying pierce the darkness. Horrid figures of silent phantoms stalk desolate paths and candle-lit hallways. And all manner of things, goblins, banshees, and vampires, hide amongst the growing shadows. Thus begins October. Blackwater Media presents Halloween Horrors. If you grew up in the Gullah country in South Carolina and Georgia, you've heard the tale of the Plat, a grotesque creature with one large red eye and short, stubby body and long, freakish legs. Plat eyes were shapeshifters, able to change their appearance and size as needed. One second they could be the size of a cat, the next they were as big as a bull. But they never could get it right. You could tell it was a Plat eye because it wouldn't look right, and it would have glowing red eyes. The Plat eye lives in the swamps and deep woods and hollows of the South. They like to hunt along dark country roads where the light barely invades. They only hunt at night, meaning you never want to be in their territory when the sun goes down. If you were, it's likely they draw you into a trap. The old folks would always say things to us as youngsters. Boy, you best not go into them woods at night, lest the Plat eye get you. Or, boy, when the sun goes down, don't you leave that road for nothing till you get home. Plat eye's out there. I've even heard, don't be down in that swamp no time. The sun ain't shining bright, and there's a Plat eye out there. And I can tell you, sometimes you should listen to the old folks. See, I passed that same story along to kids as I became a parent. But youngsters today, they know everything. I tell the stories just like I'm telling you, but they fall on deaf ears. One such youngster was a little boy that I'll call Donald. They called him Donnie, and he was a bit of a know-it-all. Well, anyway, one night in October, close to Halloween, we had a festival in my town. It's called Cypress Garden Swamp. Of course, I was there spinning my yarns and enjoying a bit of good food. I told that boy, whatever you do, don't go playing in that swamp over yonder. If the gators don't get you, the Plat eye surely will. Turns out, he didn't listen to me. Some kids dared Donnie to go down into the swamp, and he said he was the bravest, and they told him to prove it. He said he'd go, but only if he could take his friend Mikey with him. Now, most of this is what the boy Mikey told me when he came home running. But they went in a good 15 minutes and nothing happened. Then they started hearing this eerie sound, and the smell was something awful. Mikey told Donnie he thought they should head back, but Donnie didn't want to. And that's when they came across a dog the size of a donkey, he said. It had 2 tails and long tusks and glowing red eyes. Well, Mikey went to run, but Donnie insisted he was running the other direction. A few minutes later, Mikey burst out of the woods, and all we could hear was him screaming, "It's going to get him! It's going to get him!" Now, it took me a minute to calm the boy down, but when he explained what happened, I grabbed my rifle and flashlight and led a dozen men into the swamp to find the boy. It didn't take us long to figure out what direction he was in, because we could hear his screams, blood-curdling screams like he was being ripped apart. We ran through that cypress swamp as fast as we could, looking behind every stump and tree. We found him curled up on a bank, shaking back and forth. His skin was a shade darker, and his hair was almost white. He kept muttering something that didn't make any sense and staring off into the swamp. I pointed my flashlight towards where he was looking, and there was a bobtailed cat with red eyes and wings staring back at me. I raised my rifle and tried to get a bead on it, but it was gone before I could pull the trigger. It disappeared into the woods like it never existed. Donnie's in a mental hospital now, and he hadn't spoken a word since that night. Some say the old Plat eye drove him mad with fear, and it's waiting on him to come back so it can finish him off. So, if you go into the woods at night and you hear a sound that doesn't sound right, you might best run towards the light, because the Plat eye could be coming for you. And if he catches you, you'll never see another sunrise.